school football Friday night.
All right, the high school football segment is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Chris, this is the first time we've ever been able to do like a for the camera.
Show the cup.
Show the cup. Take a drink. Take a drink from the cup. He's sipping the coffee. That's some good coffee.
Maybe we can get the deal where, like, the NASCAR drivers, every time they take a sip from the Coke, they get $25,000.
Right. Well, we got a free cup of coffee. That's a good start.
I was going to say, that's
all
what I
right,
was gonna
Deuce.
ask for. You had a couple donuts, too, so.
Two. I had two.
Deuce.
That's Deuce. And speaking of Deuce, take it away, Deuce.
All right, last week we had 5 games. Chris went 5-0 to improve his record to 44-6. Jarrett, you went 4-1, and you were 40-10. This week we're going to lead off with Chris. Buffalo Gap beat Central 28-6.
In this game, it wasn't close at all. Buffalo Gap jumped out. It was 28-0 at halftime. Central ended up scoring 6 points in the fourth quarter, so it was pretty much coast. Phillip Smith for Buffalo Gap ended up having 151 yards and a touchdown. Matt Sherfy from Buffalo Gap, Matt Sherfy from Central was the only bright spot. He threw for about 113 yards and a touchdown. Trevor Campbell for Buffalo Gap threw for about 60 yards. He threw a touchdown pass. Buffalo Gap had 300 and some yards. Central had like 100. It's probably not a great game for Central to come down here and see, but Buffalo Gap looks like they're heading towards a showdown with Riverhead. So
They're playing well.
yes.
Early struggles, just like a BCS team, right? They got it going well now.
Yep, got it now.
All right, next up, Stewart's Draft took care of Waynesboro 34-7.
Well, Waynesboro's win streak was what, one game? No games?
Waynesboro was one game. They won
One game.
One game in a row.
They got it going, turned around. We knew this was going to probably happen. Stewart's Draft all over Waynesboro. 27-0 halftime lead, and they ended up winning 34-7. The Giants, Little Giants, had very little offense. DJ Hines continued to play very well for Stewart's Draft. 259 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Darius Woodson had 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Skylar Phillips for Waynesboro had 27 yards, and they just rolled. And then Stewart's Draft, no passes.
Not a
No
single
passes.
pass. That's
No
right.
passes, no yards. That's what would happen if I were an NFL quarterback. They would not let me pass the ball. That's what my dad used to do when I was in the game. Don't shoot. Don't touch the ball.
I don't think this is the first time Stewart's Draft hasn't passed ball. I think they only passed against Lee like 3 times.
Yeah, they're not a passing team.
No.
Neither's Florida State.
All right, well, next, Riverheads, they blew out Stonewall 42-14. I don't think
Same.
there's any other way to put it.
Yeah, same thing as the Buffalo Gap game. This game wasn't close. Ended up being 21-7 at halftime, and it just grew from there. Corey Sandridge, what a game he had. He ended up having 150 yards and 5 touchdowns. He had 5 touchdowns. That's just crazy. Riverhead's racked up 423 yards on the round, and guess what they had? 0 yards passing. There's a theme here, I guess. So they end up having 0 yards passing. Daniel Weekly also had 131 yards for Riverheads. And Lance Deal, the quarterback.
Real deal.
He rushed for 127 yards. So they were able to run the ball all over the place. Stonewall, they had like 100 and some yards, total offense. Same thing as Central. Central and Stewart and Stonewall come down here and take it on the chin, both to Buffalo Gap and Riverhead. So 2 weeks.
That's Holmes-like. Holmes-like, man. Like 5 touchdowns.
Yep.
That's first half work for Michael Holmes. Not taking away from what those kids did.
You just did.
I didn't mean to at all.
All right, Lehigh beat the only team Waynesboro did take care of, Rockbridge 34-7.
All right. Not a big surprise. Years past, we've been surprised. Remember Mayo running all
Yes.
over the field. They've eliminated us. They've been Rockbridge has struggled all year. We've talked about that on and on and on. The Wildcats, 301 yards of total offense, but they didn't score. And they didn't get through the red zone. Coach Tibbs said the defense played great, although Lehigh is still giving up way too many yards. When we start playing quality teams, we are going to be
What do you
in
mean?
trouble.
Quality teams, like teams other than
I'm
Southern
talking like
Valley
Southern
District?
Valley, and not to, but it is what it is. Offers and one-fers, that's not it. We've been probably giving up, 300 yards a night. Devontae White, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kevin Davis, 9 carries, 100 yards, 1 touchdown. Elijah Hawkins, a name that doesn't get called that much. He got the nod because of some injuries, and 1 touchdown. 8 carries, 90 yards. Lee sets up only one game left in the regular season for them. They took it to Rockbridge County pretty well. We got outrushed though. You know.
That always happens.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, this is the game that split last week's decision.
Yeah, my bad.
Real close game. Fort 28, Wilson 26.
And yes, this is the game that decided last week. And when I picked Fort, Deuce decided to shake his head like I was wrong. When Jared picks Wilson, he shakes his head like Jared's right.
Thank you, Deuce.
And
Hey, it's nice having somebody on my side over here.
and who ended up winning? Anyways, Jake Bailey from.
I don't care who wins or loses in
you
these
don't.
games or picks.
Okay, Jake Bailey from Fort. He ended up having 212 yards. He threw a touchdown. He also threw 6 passes to. How do you say it? Connery? Is it Connery Swift?
Sean Connery.
Connery Swift, who had also had 92 yards rushing,
even close.
and he had 2 touchdowns.
I got a cold.
Dakota Knight for Wilson ended up having 68 yards. Michael Cook completed 7 of 11 passes, and Derek Euler hauled in 4 passes for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. I told you, Fort, I was impressed with how they played against Lee.
Right.
And so I just told y'all, Wilson hasn't beat anybody other than single A teams.
Hey, I've picked Wilson. You live out there. I
You
picked
should stop.
Him. Well, I'm going to have to. The season's almost over. If Euler could score a bunch of touchdowns or just carry the ball repetitively, you could get Ben Stein to do that. Euler. Anyway.
I guess that's it.
That's
All right,
better than
let's
my
go ahead
Sean
and talk
Connery.
about this week's games. We've got 2 weeks left in the regular season, 1 for Double A, 2 for Single A.
Right.
So we're going to have a couple games this week for both, and then next week it'll just be Single A. and
Time's
Double A
running
games.
out for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you better make a move here.
I shouldn't have been talked in. I got
If you want,
goaded.
I'll tell you what, if you want, I will pick all first, and then you can either decide which ones you're going to
It doesn't matter.
take and which ones you're not.
Hey, I haven't done too poorly,
No, you haven't.
and I got goaded into that one.
Oh,
I'd still be losing.
Let the record show.
Let the record show I got goaded.
All right, Chris, you going to lead off again?
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
All right, we got Robert E. Lee at Wilson Memorial.
I'm taking Robert E. Lee. I might go to this game. I might take the kids on down here to Fishersville, right across the street from us, and see Robert E. Lee. Wilson's not going to be able to stop Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee might not be able to stop Wilson, but at some point they will, so Robert E. Lee's going to win this one.
I would agree. Robert E. Lee is going to win the game, and maybe I'll come down and visit with you.
There you go. Bring them
I've not been to Wilson.
You bring your kids, I'll bring my kids.
Sounds
and
good. I haven't been to Wilson in forever.
All right.
Next thing, we got Stuart Draft up at Rockbridge.
I'm going to say Stewart's Draft.
Yeah,
I mean, if they're beating people without the passing attack, run, they're going to run right over the Wildcats.
Yeah.
And
I think Rockbridge continues the over season. Stewart's Draft's going to go down there and put one on the Wildcats. So
Put
I'm
it
going
on
with
'em.
Stewart's Draft.
All right, the Waynesboro Little Giants at Fort Defiance.
Fort Defiance, like I said, they came into this past week's game on a 5-game losing streak. They were able to win this one. I think this puts them 2 in a row. They're going to beat Waynesboro. Fort being at home also helps out. I don't think Waynesboro can do this.
when you have these two district rivals, you got to throw the record books out. I mean, everything's on the table.
I forgot we were supposed to use all these cliches.
Yeah, everything's on the table. Fort Defiance is going to beat Waynesboro.
Yep, so we're all the same so far.
Yep.
All right, Luray plays host to Riverheads.
Riverheads and Buffalo Gap are going to be on this collision course for the last week of the season, which will be in 2 weeks. Riverheads is going to take care of Luray, even though hooray for Luray and the Bulldogs and all that. Nope, I'm taking Riverheads.
Here's a chance to.
There's a chance.
I better keep it close to the vest and just go chalk with you. I'm going to take Riverheads with the idea of Buffalo Gap, Riverheads playing for titles, playing for playoff berths, playing for. I mean, that tends to be a trend. And somewhere in another part of Virginia, probably William Campbell's playing really well.
Yes.
Isn't that the way that always goes? They ought to just let those 3 teams play just to get it over with.
Yeah, and then they could.
That's what it
say
seems
there's
like.
a state champion.
There those guys go again. All right.
All right, finally, Buffalo Gap is going down to Stonewall Jackson.
I'm going to call you Lane Kiffin.
That's fine.
You're just trying to keep it close.
I'm
You ain't
keeping it
worried
close,
about
man.
winning.
Oh, I tried to win early. Now, I got
Talks
to.
a lot of trash in the process.
I don't talk much trash. Is it me? Is it my
Yeah,
turn?
it's you.
Well, normally I like to mention that Stonewall Jackson in Quicksburg is the all-time golf championship. That's a golf powerhouse. Who are they playing?
They're playing Buffalo Gap.
We were just talking about Buffalo Gap, and the Gap's going to go ahead and take care of Stonewall Jackson.
Yes, I think Buffalo Gap will win this game. Like I said, they're going to have that matchup next week. So we pick them all the same. So it looks like going in next week, Jared.
No change, baby.
Here we go. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll do some one-on-one. Listen to the show on ESPN.
Yeah, no 3 up, 3 down,
The
man.
Boss.